So how are you? How are you managing?
Not well. Not well, Bob. Not great, Bob. That opening. I love that intro. It fires me up every single time. Welcome to the UPFront podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. This is episode 8. That's number 8 for those of you who do not speak Spanish. With me as always, the one and only, the intimidable, the Baron of branded merchandise, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the heck are you?
Doing well, man. I'm back from vacation. got a little sun and got a little time away. You and I have talked about this. I love where I live, just like you love where you live. But every once in a while, it's great to get out of the zip code. We did that, had some ocean time with the family, and it was needed. And so, yeah, I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've been staring at a computer a lot, so I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses today.
Smart.
So not throwing everybody off there. I'm not bespectacled. Oh, I guess I am bespectacled today.
Yeah.
But doing well and just plowing through things and just enjoying life, Kirby. You know what else I enjoy? I hope you asked me. Do you know what else I'm enjoying, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
I'm enjoying our good pals over at commonsku, and I know that probably shocks you, so I'm glad you're sitting down. Oh, yes, this is a late afternoon, deep night version of PromoCorner. Cheers, Kirby. I think you're having a beer.
I am.
I'm having a Gentleman Jack and Cola, a cola of my choosing. But let's talk about commonsku because that's really what's important right now. You know, they allow you to connect with your team. Like when you're on vacation last week, you were able to connect with your team if you wanted to. Now, I hope you unplugged. But if you wanted to, you could connect to your team because you know why, Kirby?
Why is that, Bill?
It's a cloud-based service. You can be anywhere in the world as long as you have internet access. You don't have to be in your office in Coshocton. I don't have to be in my home here in Franklin, Tennessee. I can be anywhere in the world and abso-frickin-lutely connect on commonsku because it's a cloud-based platform that allows me to streamline my workflow from anywhere. That's right, Kirby, anywhere. And it helps. And I know, did you use it last week while you were on vacation at all?
A little. I was better than normal, but yeah, okay. A little bit. It's because it gives me peace of mind when I can check in like that.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, and again, you can do it from anywhere, and it allows you even very quietly to check in and see what's going on. It's very important to be able to do that, especially in the climate we're living in now. So from every aspect of running your distributor business, Kirby, commonsku has the tools. You know this. I don't need to tell you this, but I'm telling other people this. Okay.
Yes.
They have the tools that enable you to stay connected to your clients, stand apart from your competition, close more deals to dramatically improve and grow your sales and revenue. So you want to join this community and gosh darn it, why wouldn't you? Head over to commonsku.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Now, before we launch into the PromoCorner version of this mullet of all podcasts today, Kirby, I do want to remind everyone we're available on YouTube. We're available all over any podcast platform. It would really help us if you subscribed. So if you're listening only, if you're listen only mode, you're listening to a podcast, just do whatever platform you use. That's Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Just look for Brand of 8 Radio. And on YouTube, just search for Brand of 8. We would love to have you subscribe, and hopefully you can enjoy some of the little fun and frivolity.
Well, and also join the conversation, right? Like I think one of the things that we love and you know, it ebbs and flows is the engagement. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Just engage and join the conversation.
Absolutely. And so now before we launch in, so thank you for that. We're recording this now in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. And one of the things I've learned is that I'm in the corner of my house here and my window faces due west, and it is now 675 degrees Kelvin in my office. So if I start getting flop sweat, it's not because I'm nervous. It's because I'm hot, folks.
We know that.
All right. I'm hot under the collar about something else, Kirby.
Ooh.
PromoCorner. And I have 2 things I'm hot under the collar about. Yeah. So we're going to go with option numero 12.
Okay.
Joel Schaffer, who is a mutual friend. Well, I know you know Brett Schaffer, his son, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Schaffer is his father. He is the president owner of Soundline. He is a PPAI Hall of Famer. He's one of the first few people I actually met in the promotional products industry when I got into the industry in New York. And always, I wouldn't say we were close enough of a relationship where he was a mentor to me, but I will say every time I've ever had a conversation with him, I always walk away learning something. He's a very sage human being. He wrote a wonderful, wonderful, thought-provoking article on PromoCorner. And if you want to check it out, it's called Social Activism in the Promo Industry. And it's on PromoCorner. Just click on the Promo Journal tab on PromoCorner, and you'll see it in the feed. I know exactly where it is. It's almost like I used to work there. Anyway, but it's such a great article. And he talked about how it's really time for our industry to step up. And I'm just going to read a couple things, and then I'd like to have some responsible discourse with you about it, Kirby. He said, we're not a racist industry, but because of we're racist because of our indifference to the outside world. That was kind of a tone there. We're not intentionally racist, but we are indifferent to the outside world if people aren't buying promo. So poor people don't buy promotional products, for example. And you're saying, that's not a client we serve, are people who don't have money to buy promotional products. So we tend to ignore that. He had a great comparison to Bombas socks. And I know you read the article. You read the article, right? So he had a great comparison to Bombas socks, where they do a 1-for-1 donation. For every pair of Bombas socks you buy, they donate one pair to a charity or to disadvantaged folks. And then he said, it's time to pour, I love this. He said, it's time to pour overruns and misprints into communities where school supplies are financial burdens. He also said, we need to ramp up our feeble efforts to recruit minorities into our industry. And he suggested, which I think is brilliant, a PPAI task force might be in order. I know you read the article. I want to know what your initial takeaway was. Actually, that's the name of his blog series. It's called The Takeaway, coincidentally enough. What was your initial takeaway? And then have you thought about your stance since then? I'm happy to share what I thought. I read it like 6 times. It was that impactful to me.
Yeah, I'll give you my initial thought. I think that's something we do on a regular basis. I did read the article.
Yeah.
My initial thought on it was that it was interesting to me, and I know that I'm sure not the first person to take this topic on, but it's the first one that I remember being in such a public fashion, at the right time, at the right place, saying what I think many
with the
of us,
right ears listening, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and also with right ears listening, and with the industry hopefully being in a space where we're better ready to listen to it. So my initial reaction was, of course. I think you and I have talked about this privately. I don't know if we've done it over the airwaves.
I don't think we've talked about it publicly.
Yeah. So I have often compared our industry to Coshocton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Coshocton, Ohio is at the foothills of the Appalachian area region, and it is very non-diverse.
Right.
And it is fascinating to me how the industry mirrors it. Well, and like, that's weird to me. And I've said that many times. And so Joel pointing this out, I was like, we need to do better. And I have some thoughts on it, but that was my initial reaction.
And I tend to agree with you, shockingly. Our industry is not diverse. Just walk any trade show. Last time you were able to walk a trade show, unfortunately, minorities stick out almost like sore thumbs. I think over the past few years, and that's a terrible connotation, but you know what I mean? I mean, they stand out because there's just not enough, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I think as an industry, we've done a very good job over the past few years focusing on women, focusing on women's empowerment. There's still a long way to go. I feel like I'm treading on dangerous ground here. No matter what I say, it's a little off.
But I think it's important to have the conversation. And I think people need to give us the grace that we're like, one of the things that I think we're living through a time of, okay?
Yeah.
So I'll tread in here, is that there are many of us who are white males in our industry who are trying to do better. And so one of the things I say is, as we are reaching across with an olive branch, don't smack us with it. We're trying. Okay. So allow us the discourse to figure out how we can do better.
I would agree. So I think we've done a good job, a long way to go, in recognizing not only the importance of women in our industry, but just the force of nature they can be.
Yes.
Still got a long way to go. We've not done that with diverse, with African Americans or Latin Americans or Indian Americans or any other segment. I actually emailed Joel and said, it's interesting. I think one of the problems we have, why this is a problem, why it perpetuates itself. This is one of the most incestuous industries I've ever seen. We don't look outside our industry to hire. And one of the things I'm really proud of that we did at PromoCorner, the last hire I made before I left, we looked outside the industry. We needed a marketing person. And I just wanted the best person. Didn't care what color, didn't care what race, didn't care gender. We ended up hiring an African-American male, and he did a really good job. And he just so happened to be African-American. He was the most qualified candidate for the job. And that's important to do. I think we need to do a better job in our industry of stop thinking that our industry is so scary complex that someone could never come into our industry and really understand what we do. I think we need to start looking at skill sets outside our industry and think about not the challenge of training them our industry, but what can we learn from their experience coming into our industry? What can they bring in? And I don't think we do a good job of that as an industry. And so I think that's a good place to start when you have openings, especially at entry level and actually every level, actually not just entry level, every level.
Yeah, every level.
Look outside our industry. Sometimes the right candidate is right here in our industry, but sometimes you're going to bring somebody in and they're going to knock your socks off because they're looking at our industry from an entirely different perspective. And that translates to not a retread.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs in our industry over the recent history. They've come from outside of the industry. So yeah, that makes sense. So one of the thoughts when he talked about it was novel to me. I'd not thought of it this way, that one of the reasons is because folks that don't buy our product we're not getting in the hands of. And I thought that was a really interesting idea of making a point of getting the product, overruns, all that sort of thing into other areas. I thought that was a neat idea that would be really painless to implement, really.
I think overruns, yes. I think misprints, there's a little bit of a challenge there because some brands are not going to want a misprint of their logo anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, so it's a discussion that should happen though with every client when they reject something because something isn't right. That's an opportunity to give back right there.
Yeah. And then the other piece that really struck me is whether it's recruiting, like you talked about hiring and going outside of the industry, I think it really does require us to be intentional. And I think people are uncomfortable sometimes about whether you call it affirmative action or whatever you want to call it. But I think we do need to be intentional because I think when you do that, you just start to look at things differently. I'll give you an example. And just looking myself in the mirror, when I look at the picture of our company, it is a very white company. And when I consider that, I go, okay, if I'm really being introspective and am I doing it right? And by simply having that internal discussion, if you're doing it honestly, I think you start widening your net, and then we just need to recruit.
Totally agree. And here's the thing: your lily white company mirrors 97% of our industry.
Sure,
and that's not right. Yeah. That is not representative of our society. It's not inclusive, certainly. And so I love the word you used, intentional. I was very intentional. I want someone from outside the industry. I want certain skills, yes. But I just want someone from outside the industry. That was important to me. And so I think, if you start there, we can start to make progress. But man, what a great article by Joel. What a bold decision to write that out there.
Yes. Well, and by a thoughtful guy who is well respected in the industry. Like I generally read pretty much most of what Joel writes anyway, but as soon as I saw what it was about, I'm like, oh, I definitely want to hear what he has to say.
Well, Brett, Joel's a super intelligent, sweet, very nice man. His daughter Allison's wonderful. Brett, he's okay, I guess. Whatever. Brett's awesome. I mean,
Brick.
Brick, Brad. It's an inside joke. I call Brett Schaffer, Joel's son, a different name every time I see him. He always calls me Phil or Dale. So anyway, a really great family. And kudos to Joel for taking on something that it's uncomfortable to talk about. I'll be honest with you. I'm uncomfortable talking about it because I worry about the minefield I'm walking in, even though my heart, I know, is in the right place. So thanks for having that discussion. So that was the promo upfront part of the podcast. Kirby, you got something else?
I do, but you said you had 2 topics. Is there one you really want to get to before I jump into another thing?
Yes.
Okay. It's totally off the cuff, but I was just...
All right. So last week you said, hey,
Oh, no. Seriously?
What?
No, we're going to retread this.
No, we're not retreading this. No.
Okay.
We are not retreading the realist, optimist, pessimist thing. We put that to bed. We decided that the realist does exist and is probably the greatest human ever. No, what we're going to talk about, Kirby, is the PPAI board slate.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's gotten a little play in our favorite promotional products group.
Oh, has it really?
A little bit.
Okay.
So PPAI, just for everybody who doesn't know, for the board of directors, they've gone to a slate, which means they pick one supplier candidate, one distributor candidate. They go through an intense vetting process, and that slate is presented to PPAI members for a final vote. Mm-hmm. Prior to this, it was 2 distributors, 2 suppliers. It started getting weird because there's campaigns. And
those are huge campaigns, yeah.
It just got weird. So I applaud PPAI for going to the slate, but you knew there was going to be some backlash.
Okay.
And here's a backlash. So your distributor candidate is Noah Lapine or Lapine. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it right.
I think it's
one
Lapine.
Way.
Yep.
Okay, Lapine. Owner of Lapine Associates. And then your supplier is Alan Tabaski, who is VP and General Manager of Bell Promo. And there's a big controversy on Alan. And I don't know Alan well. I've met him. I've had a drink with him, but I don't know him very well. He's a great guy. But there's a big problem because, as we all know, Bell Promo, which is a supplier, owns a distributor called Discount Mugs.
Yep.
And everybody gets hot under their promo collar because they think they're selling to my clients direct. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Because just since you haven't seen, I'm just going to kind of bottom line it for you. Mm-hmm. There's a segment of our industry that thinks the board is being stacked, that thinks PPAI is out of line, that thinks Alan Tabaski as a candidate is not suited to serve on the board because he works for Bell Promo, which also happens to, works for Bell Promo, which happens to also own Discount Mugs. Kirby Hasseman, what say you?
Okay, so it's kind of a complicated issue. So my overarching thing is I agree with the idea of PPI moving to what they're doing now.
The slate.
It was just a weird spot where you felt like, it was very much a popularity contest, and it was uncomfortable to watch. And it really got to a point, at least from my perspective, that those who were well-connected on social media had a ginormous advantage.
Absolutely.
Being a popularity contest.
It became unseemly, in my opinion. I'm not going to get into anybody's names. People on the board deserve to be there, but there are some campaigns I thought were unseemly.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not even that. It just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And really it had nothing to do with what the board needed from a skill set perspective.
Correct. And that's why they moved to the slate, so they could
I like
purposely find skill sets that they needed as they do strategic foresight. For example, Dawn Olds was on the slate last year. Mm-hmm. She's IT at Halo, and they know that they're going to need to ramp up technology, and so she's a perfect candidate. That's just an example, and I'm sorry I cut you.
No, it's great. But in reality, I'm a part of a lot of boards and nonprofits. Mm-hmm. That's how all boards, not all, but most boards pick people. They pick people who it makes sense for them to be a part of their organization to guide it to the future. So I like that. And honestly, when I saw the Bell Promo name come across, I did one of these where I raised my...
You had a raised eyebrow.
And then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I moved on with my life. I think that Bell Promo has fought that for years. Yeah. They do have, the reality of it is, there used to be a company here in Coshocton that had both a supplier and a distributor.
Right.
It's uncomfortable. And even in a small town where you're going, look, I would like to sell the product that you manufacture.
Right.
But if I do, I'm bidding against you, against
Right.
my customers. It's just uncomfortable. And so with due respect to Bell Promo, if they don't want that to be a part of the conversation, stop doing it.
Right.
And if you don't want to do business with Bell Promo because they have discount mugs, then don't. So to me, like, and that's sort of the way that I operate, but I totally know a lot of people who do a bunch of business with Bell Promo and it's great. So that's,
I had the advantage, right? I brought up the topic, so I get to make notes, right? And that's how this podcast works. PPAI, and you can look at it on the website, they do a very transparent process. They explain it right there. It's in black and white. Just go to the PPAI website. You can see it. They do a thorough vetting by their leadership advisory committee. They do interviews. The top candidates are then approved by the PPAI board. And trust me, I know this was discussed. The fact that Bell Promo owns discount mugs. Boy, I've got a secret for everybody who's listening. Every supplier has some small distributor that if they don't own outright, they have very close ties to. So don't think they're the only one. They're the only one you might know about. But trust me, they're there. If you don't, here's the thing. They don't become board members until they get a majority of the votes. So if you don't think, first of all, I would urge every single person. They're going to have town halls. They're going to have virtual meetings. Listen to what the candidates have to say. Listen to what Alan Tabaski has to say. And if you have the opportunity to ask questions, ask them. Ask hard ones. They deserve to be asked hard questions.
Of course, yeah.
And you deserve answers. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
But don't judge it just because you see the clickbait of Bell Promo discount mugs. Give Alan and anybody who ever runs for the board the grace, if we can use that word again, of earning it on their own.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, you've done more of this than I have in the industry of serving on these boards. To get to a place where you are presented to this, you have done so much service in our industry that has gone unnoticed. I don't know Alan personally, but let me just tell you, that dude has done more work in our industry. If he's sitting where he's at, than most people, all the people you know probably combined, because that's what you have to do to be there.
Exactly. And again, you have to trust. I hate the phrase trust the process for the most part. I really do hate that phrase. But in this case, I know I've had conversation with Paul Bellantone publicly and privately about it. We had conversations at LDW about it. This has been a big shift for PPAI because they saw what we're seeing. It was very uncomfortable, the campaigns that were being run. I'm not going to get any names, but I mean, it was weird. It was uncomfortable. It was just not right. People wanting to serve, and then they feel like they're bitch slapped because they want to serve, right?
Yes.
So give the slate an opportunity to speak about what they want to accomplish and what they stand for on the board before you make your decision. It's just like any other process. All right, enough politics, Kirby. Hey, Kirby, you like promo products, don't you?
I do like promo products.
That's awesome, because this is a promo products focused podcast. Do you have one you'd like to share with our family here?
Yeah. So, I just got back from the beach.
You did?
Yeah. And I also,
I saw your video. It was great, by the way. I was a little disappointed. I'm going to be honest with you.
Why is that?
Well, you weren't wearing, certain shirts.
I actually was. I took that shirt with me on vacation. It just never made the days that I was shooting video.
I guess we'll never know now, will we?
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, my promo product of the week is a product I took with me.
Oh, very nice. And it's branded with the Hasseman marketing logo. That is a quality beach tote.
Right. It's the ultimate utility tote. It's actually from Seville Gear. One of the things I
love
love.
Seville Gear.
Right. Very great quality. If it matters to you, it's BT 380. But again, this is one of those pieces that you get and you're like, oh, and this is a piece that, in the interest of transparency, it's not one of those that I was like, oh, I have to have a giant utility tote, right?
But you had to have it last week, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. But I got it in, and I'm like, every time we go to the lake, every time we go to the beach, anytime, it is one of those pieces we use all the time. And so that's mine, and it just worked out the timing. So
on behalf of all 7 listeners, I salute your promotional product of the week, Kirby.
I love it.
The Seville Gear, what was it, BT
380.
BT 380 beach tote situation.
That's
all right. Kirby, I've now dominated most of this podcast. Do you have something you'd like to add? Plenty of topics, please.
Yeah, sure. So I saw an article that talked about sort of goals, and how that's, goals have just been thrown out the window to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, and I want to ask it in two different ways, and you can choose which way you go. Okay.
Okay.
So have you reevaluated your 2020 goals, or how do you do it? Or how are you thinking about your goals for 2021? Like, because I think we're kind of in a weird place.
Yeah. So basically I have a daily goal, right? And my daily goal is to put on pants. I accomplished that today. I am wearing shorts.
Don't prove it.
Don't need to. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the latter, because the former, my goals were very different in January of this year when I worked for PromoCorner than they are on August 26th when we're recording this, where I'm one of the managing partners of Brandivate with Kelsey Cunningham. So I'll say 2021. I haven't set goals for 2021 yet.
Yeah,
I've set, Kelsey and I jointly set goals, sales goals for the remainder of 2020. And we're on track so far, knock on wood, to exceed those sales goals. You have step by step, you have profitability, and then you have a little bit more than profitability. And we're on a really good track, which is very exciting. I think it does take a little bit for 2021, a little bit of a crystal ball. Things feel better today than they have in months. We're also heading into cold and flu season. And, once people start getting the flu, how do you discern if they have the flu or if they have COVID? And there's still so many unanswered questions. So I think I'm a believer right now, you're best served having very short-term goals, meaning monthly, maybe quarterly at the most goals, because things are just moving too rapidly. And when I say things are moving too rapidly, I mean things that are way outside of anybody's control.
Yeah.
And so to sit here and say, well, in 5 years, I want to be doing this, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even to say in a year, I want to be doing this, I think is ridiculous. So to me, have a revenue goal through the end of the year. I have not looked at 2020. We have not looked at 2021 yet.
No, I think, and that's totally fair. I was trying to think about my answer to this. And I think what we've sort of started doing is looking at it sort of project based. Yeah. So, we're doing the marketing conference. And so it's like, how can I provide value, whether it through content, whether it through whatever, and do it in these project-based chunks. And that's what's been kind of guiding my time to get me to fourth quarter, get me toward the end of the year. And then toward the end of the year, then I think I'll be comfortable starting to set 2021 goals.
Me too. Right now, almost as daily. Like, do I walk out of this sweat box that I'm sitting in right now? Do I walk out of here and have my 6 step walk home? And do I feel good about what I did that day? So to me, it's just more of a daily thing. And I hate that. I don't like living and dying by the day, but I mean, that's just the reality of it these days, to be honest with you.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair in the sense that, as long as like you're basing it on, okay, am I being productive? Am I moving the ball forward? I think sometimes that's just focusing on the task at hand has value.
It's where being a realist really comes in handy, Kirby. All right, Kirby, you got another topic for us?
Sure.
As I proved my own point from last week, and I will continue to do so.
Yeah, I think you proved mine, but
no, I don't think so.
Yeah. So really quickly, this will be a quick one. So you're working from home.
I am. Thank you for knowing that.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah.
So 2 things. What are the kids officially doing? Are they going? Are they doing school at home? Do you know that yet?
Oh, they're driving. They drive. So they're driving. They're driving me crazy. So they started school a week and a half ago. This is their third full week in school.
Okay.
They're doing it from home.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you, as the parent at home, it's a joke. There's a lot of they check in, and next thing I know, I hear expletives coming from upstairs because they're playing Xbox, or I hear the microwave going off because they're making lunch at 10:25 in the morning. Like, what happened? Why aren't you in class? They let us out. So right now they're at home. They're scheduled to go back to school on Monday, this coming Monday. So that would be the 31st. they're dual enrolled. So they're actually doing some college courses. So their school day ends actually at 1:10 every day. Mm-hmm. And then each of them one night a week has a 3-hour class at Columbia State University. Mm-hmm. So they're dual enrolled. So, but every day they're done at 1:00.
So how are you managing?
Not well, Bob. Not great, Bob. It's interesting you asked because because here's the thing.
But P.S. This is literally me going like this.
Yeah, I know. I'm not doing well. I'm trying to do well. I'm trying to be good. It's hard. I mean, we've got this 90-pound puppy who's all puppy, and she needs attention. She's a sweet girl, and she's doing great. We've got kids. Here's the thing. We talked about Grace earlier. The kids don't know what I'm going through, trying to, with a partner, build a business. They have no concept of what that's like. Yeah. And the pressure that goes along with that.
Sure.
And trying to bring in clients and hit numbers and make revenue and convince someone, yes, I am someone you want to work with. By the same token, I need to have grace and understand I don't know what they're going through. They can put on a brave face and say, I like being, schooling from home because between classes I can get on Xbox. The fact is their senior year is shit. They're not going to, they've gone to one football game. I don't know how many more they're going to have. I doubt that they'll have many more. So I think the tone in our house is there are some challenges at times. There are some challenges where people get upset for seemingly no reason at all, but it's always the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Right.
And every single person in this house, whether it's Drew and Mitch, whether it's Sandy, who is working in the school, she's a speech language pathologist. And, she's trying to give services to the kids who are in school and the kids who are working or learning remotely. Mm-hmm. And then me doing what I'm trying to do. And I leave once a day to go work out in the morning. That's my time out of the house, generally. So we all need to have grace for each other. And sometimes we fail. Most of the times we succeed. So, I envy you being able to go to an office. That's what I tell Sandy. I'm like, I know going to the school building sucks. Man, I wish I had an escape route right now.
I understand. I mean, to a degree, I understand.
No, look, here's the thing. If we all realize every single person right now is going through their own variation of a personal hell, maybe to a different degree than you are, life would be a lot better because we can have a lot of grace for people. But you know what? I think overall we're doing good. The kids are doing well. We're you got to make the best of it. We're making the best of it. And we're making the best of it.
All right.
So now we're at the time of this podcast, Kirby, where it is the mullet part of the podcast. It is the party in the back. You have it this week. I need to prepare myself. So if you allow me, please, to go ahead and do so.
I think you're preparing yourself just from that last topic.
All right. So
I just
had my nice swig of Gentleman Jack Daniels. Kirby, I was born ready. Let's do this.
All right. So the party in the back this time is going to be a fill in the blank, sports edition, COVID edition. And so, I think both of us are big sports fans, but in there for a while, we were starved for sports, and we've actually had a little discussion about this, but I have a little fill in the blank. So first thing that pops into your head, there are wrong answers. Okay.
Okay.
My game
shouldn't be. Okay.
My game.
Okay.
I'm an optimist, because I think you're going to do great.
I'm a realist. I know you will trip me up.
Okay, here we go. So the sport you have missed the least during this pandemic is?
Highlight. Never thought of it before the pandemic. Haven't thought of it during the pandemic. Won't give it a thought after the pandemic. So I'm going to go with highlight.
Honestly, you win. That was a really good answer. That was really good. I wasn't thinking you were going to say that. So that was well done. Okay, the sport that has handled this situation the best is
bocce. I'm just kidding. Okay. I think honestly, the NHL and the NBA, I think it's a dead heat between the two. They both, had their seasons interrupted in the tail end of their regular seasons, and found a way to make it work. And I think the NHL is on like week 5 now of zero positive COVID tests. Right. The game, I'm going to go with NHL. I have to pick one, I will go with NHL just because the few games I've watched on for NHL, I like the fact that they've just tarped the arenas. The weird digital fans are very distracting to me on the NBA telecast. I can't deal with it.
Okay. All right, cool.
National Hockey League, Kirby.
All right, that's fair. I have really enjoyed watching basketball again, and so I'm good with either of those answers. Those are appropriate. Okay. The percentage chance we get through the college football season with those that are scheduled to play now is
0.
I had a feeling you would say that.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. We could have a whole podcast outside of this one about just, you ever want to know what college is about, and you think it might be about making money? Here's your evidence. We don't want any kids in class, but hey, you football players, get your ass back to campus. I found it ridiculous that the Associated Press released a poll on Tuesday of this week, or Monday, maybe it was Monday, a preseason top 25 poll, and they included teams from the Pac-10 and the Big Ten who said they're not playing this year. I don't understand that. So I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling your national champion Texas A&M Aggies will beat like middle Utah State in the Aloha Bowl at 5-7. It's just, I don't think there's a chance in hell, because you can't bubble them up. There's just too many colleges. You can't bubble them up.
Okay. The percentage chance that we finish an NFL season is
76.46. If I want to be specific about that, I think there's a good chance. I think if they can make it through the regular season, I think they need, here's the thing they need to come out with. Right now, you have Green Bay, who said no fans in the stands. You got the Cowboys and Jerry Jones saying, oh, we're going to have as many fans in there as we can, as the state law allows. Right now, 50% for large gatherings. I think the NFL has to come down and say, hey, look, we're going to play without fans. We're going to try to, as much as we can, bubble people up. Right now, the NFL's doing a great job, but everybody's stuck in a training camp in a pretty bubbled system. Once they start traveling, when you have all 4 cornerbacks of the Cleveland Browns come down with COVID, how do you play that game? So I think there's a chance that it gets derailed. I think they'll get my hope is that they get through the regular season, they pick the playoff teams, and then they bubble up somewhere and finish it that way.
Cool. All right. I've got a few more, so let's make them.
I'm sorry.
No, we're good. We're going quick.
By the way, that's Kirby saying, hey, Bill, just answer the damn question.
No, it's
you
good.
Don't need to, pontificate.
The sport you have most fun watching at home is
boxing. Mitch and Drew have become excellent boxers as they fought each other, and it's really nice to see their skills developing. Drew's not a southpaw, but he's really developed a really nice right hook, and Mitch's MMA skills have really improved.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the sport you have the most fun watching live is, but it sounds like that's the same answer.
Yeah, it might be.
Okay. The athlete that you would most like to have a beer with is?
Current or present? Living. Current, living
athlete.
That's a tough one. I think Roger Staubach.
Okay.
He's my number one favorite athlete of all time.
Yep.
So Roger Staubach, you're from your Dallas Cowboys.
The percentage chance that Jerry Jones plays quarterback for the Cowboys this year is
74.37%. I'd really rather Jerry Jones fire the coach one year and just coach. I would love that so much, because the absolute shit show that would be, and Jerry wants to do that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. No, Jerry won't play for the Cowboys, but man, he'd love to coach him. He'd coach him up.
Yeah. All right, man. You did a good job.
I hope I did a good job.
The highlight one, that you took it over right there. That was great.
I hope I did a good job, but you know who I know does a good job, Kirby?
Who's that, Bill?
That is our good friends over at commonsku. It's that cloud-based platform we talked about earlier. Helps every distributor run their business from a cloud-based environment from anywhere. Not just Coshocton, not Franklin, Tennessee, not Dallas, Texas, not Lukenbach, Texas, not Dade County, Florida, where they play a lot of highlight. Nope, from anywhere, USA or beyond. That's right. They are international, folks. So if you want to make sure you connect with your clients virtually, you connect with them through their online platform, commonsku is the way to go. We've talked about this before. The last thing I always like to say, man, you've got a team there who cares and cares deeply. They are invested in your success. So you really can't go wrong with at least taking a look at commonsku, kicking a few tires, and seeing if it's the right fit for you. So head over to commonsku.com. You won't be sorry you did. Kirby, always a great time to do the PromoCorner podcast. Oh, look at you brand-evating with your coasters right there as you hold those up like street cones. I appreciate that. Kirby, I appreciate everything you do. Let's call it a podcast. That's right. Promo up front.